Yo, what's good everyone? Happy Saturday. Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament plays for this week for NFL DraftKings main slate. What I'm going to do here is break down a couple of game stacks that I like. We're then going to dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks, and then wrap it up with another low-priced option or sub 4K wide receiver play. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're going to kick things off here in the spreadsheet like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. I mentioned this in my cash video yesterday, go check that out, that a lot of the totals on the main slate here have come down throughout the week, but there's still a handful of games here that could turn into a shootout. And then I got these highest implied team totals listed behind me. You could kind of use that as a reference point here as I'm going through some of my favorite tournament plays. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of game stacks here that I'll be targeting this week. First one being between the Falcons and the Browns. This game isn't projecting to be quite as popular as I thought it would be, especially having the third highest implied game total on this main slate, with two defenses that just have not been very good here through the first 3 weeks of the season. You can see in the notes off to the right-hand side there, this Atlanta defense ranks 27th overall in defensive DVOA, towards the bottom of the pack, and Cleveland hasn't been much better, ranking 23rd overall. And so I think there's a number of different ways that we can attack this, but I like stacking up Marcus Mariota here with Kyle Pitts. I'm 100% okay going Drake London there as well, but I love the deep shots they were taking on Kyle Pitts last week, and Mariota missed him. I believe it was on the first drive on a deep touchdown. If he's going to be getting those deep looks and air yards, I still like him at this price here of $5,000, and then running it back there with Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb, I'm 100% okay just picking one of these guys as well and just doing a little mini game stack, basically Mariota and Pitts and running it back with one of the Cleveland guys. But Cooper's looked really nice here in back-to-back weeks, 10 plus targets in each of those games, over 100 receiving yards and scored a touchdown, and Nick Chubb always has multiple touchdown upside. Honestly, I prefer Cooper here over Chubb, but again, I think both are absolutely okay. And the reason I'm not doing a double stack there with Mariota is I want him to have a rushing touchdown as well, or just have everything go to Kyle Pitts. But he now has a rushing touchdown here in 2 of 3 games this year, so you know when they get down towards the goal line, they're going to have some designed runs for him, and he's just a good scrambler as well, so he's going to find the end zone on his own. But a really cheap stack here at that, especially if you just want to go with Mariota and Pitts and run it back with Amari Cooper. And then another game stack I like targeting here this week is that game between the Broncos and Raiders. And hey, look, we're all aware that this Broncos offense especially has not looked very good this year, and the Raiders, well, they're 0-3, the worst team in the NFL by record, that is. But there's just so much offensive talent in this game that it is intriguing to me. I gotta believe that Russ and this offense for the Broncos are gonna figure it out here sooner than later. We know he's got 3+ touchdown upside, especially with these weapons he can throw the ball to, whether that be his 2 wide receivers in Sutton and Judy. You even get someone like Javonte Williams mixed in there, who's been involved in the passing game here in the 3 weeks, but I just kind of like this game, especially considering everybody's looking at the Broncos and going, nah, that's just not for me. Russ is projected around 3% ownership in this game, so yeah, I understand the offenses have not been great so far here in the first 3 weeks of the season, but I do like the offensive talent in this game and think it has some sneaky shootout potential, and that's what I'm going with here. Russ stacked up with his 2 wide receivers who are very affordable, and then running it back there with Darren Waller. But again, a number of different ways that we can attack this. We can obviously mix in someone like Devontae Adams or someone like Mac Hollins on the Raiders side of things who's really affordable at $4,200. He had a blow-up game last week against the Titans, 32+ DraftKings points. I know some of you guys had played him, mentioned that in the comments, and won some decent money with him. So yeah, like I said, we know the offenses in this game have not been great here throughout the first 3 weeks of the season, but there's a lot of offensive talent in this game, and I think it's got some sneaky shootout potential, so if it's going to have low ownership, I'm going to attack it on the tournament side of things. Now, folks, just want to take a quick minute here to talk about one of the sponsors on this channel in Lucra. If you have not signed up for Lucra yet, it is completely free to get started today. In fact, we're actually giving users $25 just to get signed up. All you need to do is scan the QR code on the screen right now. That's going to download the app for you, include my referral code in GRIFF, GRIFF, and give you $25 in free play money. Now you can use that free play money to compete against anybody, friends, family, someone random, or even against me if you wanted to as well. I'm going to start up my GriffDogg group once again this week, and if you want to join that, link in the description below. I'm throwing out props in there that are designed for you guys to win. So you can use this free play money to compete against me or again, whoever you want to compete against. And the nice thing about that free play money is it converts to real cash. So you might legit never have to deposit a single dollar on Lucra. You can just build a bankroll with this free play money. Again, all you need to do is scan the QR code on the screen right now. That's going to download the app for you, include my referral code GRIFF, and give you that $25 in free play money to get started on the app. All right, now hopping on down here to some of my favorite individual plays and stacks. We're going to kick it off there with the quarterbacks, and I did talk about both Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts in my cash video yesterday, if you want to go check that out. I think both those guys are certainly viable in tournaments as well. Expensive, but they both have good matchups. But Lamar Jackson seems to be flying under the radar once again, and that probably shouldn't be the case. This guy is coming off back-to-back performances of 40-plus DraftKings points, where he scored 43 and 49 DraftKings points, while passing for 3-plus touchdowns in both of those games, and going over 100 rushing yards. Now look, I know this is a tough matchup here against the Buffalo Bills, probably the best team in the NFL, or really stellar defense, but how do you ignore those numbers, especially when he's only projected for 6% ownership this week? And so if that's going to be the case on the tournament side of things, he's got to be in consideration here, albeit the tough matchup. Now, there is quite a bit of chalk here at the running back position this week. If you go check out my cash video yesterday, I highlight two of those guys with Jamal Williams and Khalil Herbert. No David Montgomery this week. DeAndre Swift is doubtful. Both of those guys are going to be very popular. So I'm looking at some guys here that might fly under the radar a little bit. Austin Eckler's coming in around 10% ownership. 100% okay with that in my tournament lineups. And, I've talked about this in the past, people. If I like someone, whether they're going to be popular or not, I will play them in my tournament lineups and look to get contrarian elsewhere. I've never found it hard to get contrarian when it comes to playing DFS. You could find someone in the 3K range or low 4K range that sets your lineup apart. So Austin Eckler here, he is going to be around 10% ownership. That doesn't bother me. In a great matchup against the Houston Texans, who've allowed damn near 32 DraftKings points per game to opposing running backs through the first 3 weeks of the season. That's the most in the NFL, and they rank 30th overall in rush DVOA. And so I know Austin Eckler didn't have a lot of rushing attempts last week, very heavily involved in the passing game. I think this could be a get-right spot for him on the ground. Now, there's been a lot of talk around this game here this week between the Seahawks and Detroit, and I think a lot of people are going to be targeting that game, but I've kind of come off of it, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown being out in this game. Probably not going to have DeAndre Swift. But I kind of like the Seattle side of things here, and honestly, I really like Tyler Lockett originally, but it seems like the entire community is talking about him. He's actually projected to be the most popular wide receiver here this week, which I will get off of that. If you're the most popular play and I'm not in love with it, then yeah, I'll look to pivot off of that. Rashad Penny kind of looks nice here at $4,900. He is coming off of his largest workload of the season in week 3, where he had 15 opportunities, and has a great matchup here against Detroit, who've allowed 30.5 DraftKings points per game to opposing running backs. That's the second most in the NFL, and obviously a very affordable price tag there at $4,900. Now again, if you love Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf this week, play them in your tournament lineups. They have a great matchup, but I kind of like pivoting off of that here to Rashad Penny. Now, folks, before we dive into the wide receivers here, if you could take 10 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I got a lot of football content coming your way this year, and for you hockey people out there, I got a lot of NHL content coming as well, covering both the DFS and betting side of things. Puck drop is just 1 week away. But I appreciate all of you for watching this video here today. Let's get into these wide receivers. And like always, there's a lot to love about the wide receivers on the tournament side of things here in week 4. Go check out my cash game video. There's a handful of guys that I highlight in there that are certainly tournament viable. Diggs, Pittman Jr., Dobbs of the Green Bay Packers. Those are guys I will be considering. But I got 4 other guys that I wanted to highlight here. First being CeeDee Lamb, who's seen a 40% target share with Cooper Rush under center for the Cowboys. those are kind of the numbers we were expecting this year with Amari Cooper out of Dallas. Maybe not a 40% target share, but upper 20s for sure. And he's played really well here. Played better with each ensuing week is probably a better way to put it. And dropped a long touchdown pass last week that really could have had him have a smash game. So I like the price here at $6,700. Love this matchup against Washington as well, who ranked 28th overall in pass DVOA. Next, I got Diontae Johnson, who's had no lack of targets go his way this year either, seeing a 33% target share so far with Mitch Trubisky. The question is when does Kenny Pickett come in? And we kind of had that conversation earlier this week in my first look video. Sounds like some people are with the idea of he's probably going to start after their bye week once they get TJ Watt back. And if you look at the Steelers' schedule here over the next 5 weeks, they got the Jets this week and then 4 really tough games. So that does make sense. I do like Diontae Johnson here, though, this week in this matchup against the Jets. Obviously, I love that target share, but the Jets rank dead last right now in terms of overall pass DVOA. I know they got some nice upside with those cornerbacks, especially someone like Sauce Gardner, but he's still a rookie, and I think Diontae Johnson should win the matchup here against this secondary pretty easily this week. And then I got 2 cheaper wide receivers here in Josh Palmer and Corey Davis. First, Palmer on the Chargers. Keenan Allen is set to miss here again in Week 4 after missing each of the last 2 weeks. In those games, we've seen Palmer play more in his absence, and he saw 8 and 9 targets as well. I really like that. And a good matchup here against the Houston Texans. I think a lot of people are going to be on Mike Williams naturally, and I like pivoting off of that here to Palmer. This is a guy who's got 100-plus receiving yard upside and can definitely find the end zone. And then Corey Davis there of the New York Jets. Obviously, the big news out of New York this week is Joe Flacco is going to the bench and Zach Wilson is coming back. And Corey Davis showed some nice chemistry in a couple of games with Zach Wilson last year as a rookie. For starters, he averaged around 6.5 targets per game, but back in weeks 1 and weeks 4 really stick out to me here. In week 1, he had 5 catches for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then in week 4, he had 4 catches for 111 yards and scored a touchdown as well. That would smash value at this price here of $4,500. And the Steelers look to be missing cornerback Akil Witherspoon here this week. And per the beat writers of the Steelers, the cornerback depth for Pittsburgh is not very good. And so while there is a lot of uncertainty here with Zach Wilson coming back in this Jets offense, Corey Davis was one guy that saw consistent targets last year, so I don't mind him at this price of $4,500. We then got the tight ends here, and I did talk about 2 tight ends in the game stacks, but I got 2 individual tight ends that I like as well. Look, if I'm playing Lamar Jackson this week, it makes sense to stack him up with Mark Andrews, who leads the entire NFL right now with damn near a 37% target share, and we know this guy has multiple touchdown upside. Again, it is a tough matchup here against the Buffalo Bills, but if you want to get on that game, it looks like you can get the Baltimore side at a little lower ownership. And then Robert Tonyan here of the Green Bay Packers. I talked about him actually in my cash video yesterday. Played 58% of the snaps in week 3, just progressively playing more coming off that knee surgery, and was second on the team with 7 targets. And a good matchup here at home against the New England Patriots, who have not been able to stop the tight end so far this year, allowing 18.5 DraftKings points per game. That's the 4th most in the NFL, and Tonyan at a really nice price of $3,500. We then got the defenses here. I'll keep this short and sweet. I did highlight some cheaper defenses in my cash video that will be in my tournament mix as well, but I have no issue spending up for a defense here on the tournament side of things. You got the Green Bay Packers playing at home, who have looked better with each and every week so far this year, playing Brian Hoyer. So yeah, that's kind of the matchup I'm going for there. Cowboys, I talked about them yesterday as well. This is a great matchup for them at home against the Washington Commanders. The Cowboys lead the entire NFL with 13 sacks. The Commanders are second in the NFL in allowing sacks with 15, and that's largely due to Carson Wentz just holding onto the ball. I think Micah Parsons is going to get after him. And I did talk about that game stack earlier between the Broncos and Raiders. Obviously, if I'm doing that, I'm probably not going to be playing the Broncos defense, but in a different lineup, I kind of like the Broncos defense here, who have held this team together so far. It's definitely not the offense. We talked about that earlier as well. There's a lot of talent with the Broncos defense here, and Derek Carr is prone to make mistakes, and that offensive line for the Raiders, not very good. And as always, we're going to wrap up this video here with a low-priced option or sub-4K wide receiver play. I got George Pickens here this week of the Steelers. Had his first real upside game in Week 3 against the Cleveland Browns. Obviously made that unreal catch. Might be catch of the year. Will, my buddy Will, if you're watching this, it's not going to be catch of the year, buddy. You're going to owe me that $20. But yeah, it was an absolutely unreal catch. Very well could be catch of the year. Played 76% of the offensive snaps, ran a route on 88% of Trubisky's dropbacks. You really like to see that. Also had a season-high 7 targets in that game, second most on the team. Look, the talent and upside is there. Really, the question comes down to, can Mitch Trubisky get him the ball? I know that's a huge question, but if he can, this is a great matchup for him to have a nice day against the New York Jets. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on Sunday as well. I'm out of here.